Say something out loud right now. It doesn't matter what you say. Just speak, because the moment you did, something happened outside. A chickadee on the branch above your feeder turned its head. A sparrow in the hedge went completely still. A crow 3 houses away shifted its position on the wire. All of them heard you. All of them responded. None of them looked alarmed. Here's what nobody tells you: birds don't just hear your voice. They remember it. They analyze it. They build a file on you over months, and every single time you speak outside, they pull the file up in under 1 second and make a decision about who you are. You have been training wild birds without knowing it. Every conversation on your porch. Every time you called your dog. Every word you've said near a window, they heard it through the glass, and what they decided about you is more fascinating than most people will ever know. What you're about to learn happens every time you speak near a wild bird. Stay until part 4, because the last thing we cover will permanently change the way you talk outside. What birds actually hear when they hear your voice. A bird does not hear your voice the way you do. It hears it with 10 times more precision. Human hearing processes sound at 1/20th of a second. A bird processes sound at 1/100th of a second, 10 times faster, 10 times more detailed. What sounds to you like a single spoken word sounds to a bird like dozens of distinct, separate acoustic events. Each one carrying information. Each one being cataloged in real time. When you say "good morning" to your yard, a chickadee hears something close to a full sentence, not in language, but in data. It hears your size. Low vocal resonance signals a large body. Large bodies can mean danger. The bird notes this before you've even stepped outside. It hears your emotional state. Tense, fast speech creates a completely different acoustic signature than slow, calm speech. A bird can distinguish between a relaxed human and an agitated one from the rhythm of your words alone, not the meaning, the rhythm. It hears your identity. If it has encountered your voice before, it cross-references it against memory. A bird that knows you isn't just hearing a voice. It's hearing your voice, specifically, filtered through weeks or months of accumulated data about your behavior, your schedule, and whether you've ever given it reason to be afraid. Before you have appeared, before you have opened the door, before you have made a single movement, the birds in your yard already know who is coming. This is not instinct. This is learned recognition. There is a hard difference. Instinct is a newborn chick flinching from a shadow shaped like a hawk. Recognition is a chickadee moving toward the sound of a specific person because that person has filled the feeder every morning for 6 months. One is hardwired. The other is built. And you helped build it. The acoustic precision birds operate with is difficult for humans to fully appreciate because our hearing is so comparatively blunt. We hear direction and rough volume. Birds hear texture, resonance, cadence, emotional content, and individual identity, simultaneously, in fractions of a second. Every time you've spoken near a bird, you were broadcasting a detailed profile of yourself. Size. Mood. Familiarity. Threat level. The birds weren't ignoring you. They were filing you. And that file is more complete than you think. The first 3 seconds after your voice reaches them. This is the part most people never see. Not because it's invisible, because it's too fast. In the first second after a bird hears your voice, its body executes something called an acoustic startle response. Not a full alarm. Not flight. Something much smaller and far more interesting, a micro-freeze. The feeding pauses. The movement stops. For a fraction of a second, the bird goes completely still. In that stillness, it is running your voice through its memory at extraordinary speed. Known or unknown. Safe or threat. Calm or agitated. Familiar or strange. All of those questions answered in under 1 second, every single time. If the answer is unknown, the bird pulls back. It moves to a farther branch. It repositions to a spot where it has more reaction time and a clearer escape route. It doesn't flee, it reassesses from a safer distance. If the answer is known and safe, something different happens. Something that most backyard observers never notice because they don't know to watch for it. The bird moves slightly closer. Researchers have documented this with remarkable consistency across multiple species. Birds show measurable approach behavior in direct response to a familiar human voice. Not the sight of the person, the voice alone, arriving before the person appears. Think about what that means. The voice arrives first. The bird responds. Then you walk out the door, and the birds are already repositioned, not because they saw you coming, but because they heard you coming through walls and windows and distance. The entire sequence unfolds in 2 to 3 seconds, and it is happening in your yard every single time you speak outside. The second of that window is when species-specific processing kicks in. A chickadee runs your voice through the same neural circuitry it uses for alarm calls, the highest priority channel in its brain. A crow begins cross-referencing your voice against a more complex behavioral profile it has built on you over time. A robin calculates whether your movement patterns are likely to disturb soil nearby and expose food. Same voice. 3 completely different evaluations. All happening simultaneously. All completed before you've taken your first step outside. The 3rd second is resolution. The birds have made their decision. They return to activity, or they don't. But the assessment was real. Every time. Whether you knew it or not. What different birds do when they hear you. Not every species responds to your voice the same way. The differences are sharper than most people expect. The chickadee is the most sensitive voice detector in a typical yard. It processes human voices through the same neural circuitry used for alarm calls, which means your voice enters the chickadee's brain through the same channel as its most critical survival information. It doesn't treat your voice as background noise. It treats it as priority data. A chickadee that knows you does something remarkable when it hears your voice. It stops caching seeds. It orients toward the sound. It is not alarmed. It is paying attention. There is a measurable difference between those 2 states, and researchers can distinguish them by body posture, movement speed, and eye focus. Alarm looks a certain way. Attention looks different. A familiar chickadee gives you attention. The crow response is completely different. And considerably more unsettling when you understand what's actually happening. Crows don't just hear your voice. They analyze it with a level of individual specificity that has surprised researchers. Studies have shown that crows can distinguish between individual human voices with accuracy comparable to facial recognition. They are not hearing a human. They are hearing you, specifically, with a dossier attached. A crow that has classified you as safe responds to your voice by moving toward your location. A crow that has classified you as a threat does something else entirely. It issues a you-specific alert to every crow within range. Your voice is being actively broadcast through the crow communication network of your neighborhood. Every time you speak outside, every crow within earshot is being updated on you. You have a reputation with the crows. You've had one for years. You just didn't know it existed. The robin operates on a different logic from both. Robins are acoustic followers. They listen for sounds associated with exposed earthworms. Large animals moving slowly through an area disturb soil. Disturbed soil means food. A robin hears your voice, registers your size from your vocal resonance, and calculates whether your presence is likely to be profitable. But robins that have known a specific human for months show something that goes beyond food calculation. They approach more quickly. They maintain closer proximity. They show less alarm behavior over time. The voice became a comfort signal. Not just a food signal. Something closer to recognition. The relationship you built without knowing it. You have a relationship with the birds in your yard. A real one. Not a metaphorical one. A measurable, documented, neurologically real relationship in which both parties recognize each other, one consciously, one not. You are in their world. You have been in their world for as long as you've lived where you live. Every conversation on your porch, every time you called your dog, every phone call you took in the backyard, every word spoken near a window, they heard it. They filed it. They built a picture of who you are from the accumulation of every acoustic impression you've ever made. And the picture they built is not threatening. It is familiar. It is known. That took time. That took consistency. And you provided both without intending to. Here's what makes this genuinely extraordinary. Birds in yards where the same person fed them for 6 months showed clear pre-arrival behavior in response to that person's indoor voice, heard through walls and windows before the person appeared outside. The birds weren't responding to the sight of the person. They weren't responding to the sound of the door. They were responding to a voice heard through glass, from inside a building, as a reliable predictor of what was about to happen next. They learned your voice the way you learn a ringtone. Hear it, expect what follows. When your voice changes, when you're sick, when you're stressed, when something is off, the birds notice that too. Field observers have documented that familiar birds show measurably different behavior when a known person's voice sounds unusual. They don't panic. They hold back. They watch more carefully. The voice they know sounds different today. And when your voice returns to normal, so do they. As if they were simply waiting for you to sound like yourself again. The next time you step outside, say something in your normal voice. Watch the chickadee pause for half a second. Watch the robin adjust on the lawn. Watch the crow on the wire turn its head to face your direction. All of them running your voice through the file they've built on you across months and seasons. All of them arriving at the same conclusion they always arrive at. That one is known. That one is safe. You didn't earn that by trying. You earned it just by being there, consistently, and speaking in your own voice. That is not nothing. That is a relationship.